Interesting. All right, everybody's here. Okay. Okay, so everybody is on except for Miss Antillian. Who's Monica Wynn? Why is Monica Wynn coming? I'm gonna remove Monica. Who's Monica Wynn? I don't know Monica. Monica Wynn is a student. Interesting. Okay, so let's begin the meeting because I want this to be quick so that we can all take some breather and enjoy the evening and look forward to Friday, one more day before we are on a break that we all are waiting for, and we're all excited to get to it. So to start with the agenda, thank you for being here and thank you for staying on to be in this meeting. The agenda definitely has a lot of important parts to it that was even discussed with the board. So I'm happy to share this with you because this plan is not just going to be something that I shared with the board. It is also something that you have to know because these are targets that we have to comply with, as well as it's going to be posted on the website because it is again another TDA requirement that is new, that we have to post some targets for our pre-K through third graders, most especially early childhood years. So this is going to take a lot or at least a major part of our discussion. So to begin that, and is Monica Wynn Miss Centillion? I'm not gonna, where, okay, I'm sorry, I guess she is Monica Wynn. She's saying I removed her from the meeting. Well, I don't recognize her. Okay, there you go. So she is Monica Wynn today, Miss Antillian. All right, so basically we'll move on ahead to have Ms. Nargis present to us the results of the MClass literacy assessment that was just conducted by both the primary teachers and the lower L teachers, and it relates to what our targets are going to be, not just for this year, but for the 5 years, and how it would affect our 4th and 5th graders, and definitely along the way up to middle school. So go on ahead, Ms. Nargis.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dahlia. And without further ado, let me just start that you all have done the M class, at least the lower L and the primary teachers. And just for the benefit for everybody, I've just put a little bit of an overview of what the M class is. From the TPRI, we've moved to the M class, which is a universal screener, and it's going to measure not only the reading skills, but the math skills as well for students of grades K through 5. And there are two main assessments. The DIBELS is the one which we have used, which is the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, and the text reading comprehension assessments. This text reading comprehension assessment is an early literacy formative assessment for grades K through 2. And TRC helps teachers understand student reading development by measuring a range of skills including reading fluency, accuracy, and comprehension. So all of us teachers can understand how important this tool can be an aid to our teaching process. How can MClass help? So these the measures that are there, that they are designed to be like short 1 minute. You've all done it, so you know, and they are used to regularly monitor the development of early literacy and early reading skills. And a score, the student score measures give the school information about whether or not the student is on track. That's why today we want to review that, how many are not on track. And a school can quickly identify those students and then see how we can help those students. Now, we've been discussing this and we've got a lot of referrals for dyslexia suspects. So this MClass tool also has some additional tests which we've not used, but they are those additional, like all those who you suspect. Then we can add these three, vocabulary, encoding, and rapid automatized naming. So dyslexia testing is nothing other than these basic testing of these basic language formation measures, and that is from putting all this together, as well as our informal observations, our experiences with the child, is what would give us a window into understanding whether the child has dyslexia or not. So if you see over here, from the dyslexia specific word reading difficulty, we have some symptoms for which these tests can help us, and then to go further into these measures which would help us further. So we will see which students would need that down the line. So at AMCS, the ones we have used are these few: letter names, phonemic awareness, letter sounds, decoding, word reading, reading accuracy, and reading fluency. Now, if you look at I have cut pasted this. I've used the snip tool, so it's a little crushed. But the red is the well below benchmark and the yellow is the below benchmark. And coming from a special education background, my mind goes to that group. So Ms. Dahlia gave me a good insight that total minus this would give us all those who are on benchmark and above benchmark. So if you see the number over here, and I've broken it down, so there are 27 students out of 104 who are well below benchmark, and 14 are below benchmark. So here is a breakup over here, that by teachers, if you see over here, and so if you see, Miss Anila has one student both in well below benchmark and below. Miss Arwa has 1 and 1. Miss Jisha has 2 and 1. Miss Mubina has 6 in well below benchmark. Miss Rafia doesn't have anybody, but she has 3 in below. Miss Saira has 2 and 1. Miss Talat has 2 and 3. So there is a total of 14 for well below benchmark and 10 below benchmark. Now this also gives us a question on whether all of us are using the same approach. You know, the tool can be the same, but our personal approach can influence it also. So that's a question over here. But anyways, that was the breakup. And then at the primary level, as we can see, for grade 1, Miss Santilan has 1, and for grade 2, there are 2. Miss Pataho has 4 in grade 2 and 2 in grade 1. Miss Vidan doesn't have any in grade 2, but she has 4 in grade 1. So that's 13 for well below benchmark and 4 in below benchmark. Now, what I've done is I have taken, Miss Dahlia gave me good insights, and thank you for that. So we also looked at the, and I'm going to, I hope I can stop the share and bring that other screen so it's easier to see that screen, where so can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here, you know, if you see the what last year, if you'd see, like this year, the student who is in Miss Vidan's room, who is well below benchmark, was with Miss Arwa, but he was developing at that time. So he's fallen way below. So, you know, like student by student, it gives us an insight. But if you see Dominguez, he was still developing with Miss Mubina, and he's well below benchmark. Escobar still developing, well below benchmark. Ravila, right? Ravila was in the beginning was developing, then slid down to still developing, and now he's well below. Vergara, right? Vergara, she is below benchmark now. With Miss Anila, she was developing. So, you know, these little flags of concern that last year, but of course, This year has been a very difficult year, so we have to give little room for that. Areola was still developed towards the end, but then now is below benchmark. And Diana is below benchmark, was still developing with Miss Rafia. Kuang, well below benchmark. So the thing is, like, why I have put it student by student. And then if you see on this screen, this is also who are in second grade now. So where they were in first grade, and what were they in when they were in the primary level. So let's take one example, not each one, but Beharano, he is well below benchmark. He's with Miss Pataho in second grade. When he was in first grade, he was still developing. When he was with Miss Rafia, he was developing. So he sort of started falling back. And if you see Adinali, she was still developing. She's well below, and now her FIA is going on. She's been referred. We have this Nestor, who is well below. If you see the track, still developing with Miss Saira, with Miss Patavo, he was developing at the end of the year. And then now he's well below benchmark. So Yennefer, she's been referred. Was in that category. And then we have Julian, who is still developing. He was not, I could not find his records in the end of the year. And now he's well below benchmark. And Tehran. Only this year we have well below benchmark. Last year he was with Miss Santilan, but I did not find any records. So the point over here is, why I did this was like just for us, that a child who is well below benchmark or still developing in kinder, just see how the trajectory keeps just moving in that direction. Does he ever come out of the developing? That's our question to us, that will he ever get the chance of coming out, or what will have him come out of that then? So that's a question for all of us to consider. So our summary over here is this, that 41 out of 104 are at risk this year. Now, this year, and this is from the MClass, all of us have been through. I've just taken a few interesting things, that the current loss, the learning loss that's happened in the current scenario, that students in need of intensive intervention at beginning of year have increased from prior year in all grades, but most significantly in grades K through 2. Just see this one in the first grade, and Dibbles has identified this group over here. When visualized as a percentage of prior year students, the scale of the loss becomes clearer. An additional 1 in 10 to as many as 5 in 10 students than the prior year are not only behind, but in need of intensive intervention. So it's a very serious scenario. The world is going through a serious phase. On top of it, this is being compounded in the education domain. Now, this is from the Orange Book, which is on dyslexia. But there was something very important, that the prime time to learn to read. The rapid growth of the brain and its responsiveness to instruction in the primary years makes the time from birth to age 8 a critical period for literacy development. If intervention is not provided before the age of 8, the probability of reading difficulties continuing into high school is 75%. And inexpensive screening measures identify at-risk children in mid-kindergarten with 85% accuracy. So whatever the teachers you all are doing, it's 85% accurate. And an evaluation is, screening is not an assessment or an evaluation, but screening is our first very important step. So what is an assessment and an evaluation? It is conducted for the purpose of either creating or changing the legal eligibility or placement. So that's the intention of going into the evaluation process, that this child needs that legal status to start receiving more services. So now we are looking at a little bit of what are the recommendations. So the recommendations from the Dyslexia Association, which is also focused on reading, is that what are the principles of effective instruction? That instruction has to be explicit. Instruction has to be systematic and cumulative. It has to be diagnostic. It has to be responsive. It has to be hands-on, engaging, and multimodal. So we, in a Montessori we are doing, but we just need to step it up a little bit more, especially the explicit instruction. The key content areas: phonemic awareness, sound symbol correspondence, morphology. Morphology is like the ed, ing, the prefix, suffix, which change the meaning of the word. By itself, those few letters don't have a meaning. Then you have the syntax, where the word should go in the sentence, and the semantics. How does the child understand the language that is written? If it is meant to be hilarious, humorous, but the child doesn't get the humor. So that's the semantics aspect of it. So if you see over here, the word recognition, it begins with words, the sounds first, letters and words. That's what we do. Then the language comprehension. Language comprehension has these strands to it, which is the knowledge, vocabulary, sentences, connections, and the gist. Slowly, we keep building one on other. So this is just a little bit of an overview, and what questions do we need to ask ourselves? And at this point, I pass it on to Ms. Dahlia, because based on what we have now, we need to set our goals, and these are our weak links, and we need to work on them because every child needs to be successful. So over to you, Ms. Dahlia. I'll stop sharing over here.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Thank you for the wonderful presentation. It has a lot of great information for us to take note of, because it helps us understand how to help our children better. But keeping in mind that there are some elements that is unique to the Montessori approach, and we also recognize that all those key elements like phonetic awareness and letter sound and all that is very much what we actually begin to do when we help the children emerge to read, even at the primary level. So that's something, and I'm sure others might have questions about it, but just
Yes.
keep in mind that those presentation that Nargis did were beginning of the year.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I feel hopeful towards having improvement by the end of the year, but keeping in mind that there is a COVID slide. There is a slide that is happening even to this day because of the ability. Our ability has been limited by the different environment that we're working in. So, in so doing, with the information that we've gathered so far in the fall, and from the information from the past years of PPRI, I've put together, based on what is required by the state, to put together a 5-year plan, like a goal and progress measures for pre-K, kinder, first grade, second grade, third grade, STAR tests, and also eventually for fourth, fifth, all across the STAR grade levels. And in so doing, I have to use those data, which you provide me very timely, and I thank you for doing that, for doing all the best you can, even at sometimes at very short notice, that when I ask you to give me those information, you work through it and gather your students to do it, and I get it all across what you needed to provide to the higher beings out there. So
I think Miss Anila had a question.
yeah, go ahead, Miss Anila. Go ask.
Yes, so Ms. Nargis, when I read in your presentation that it's somewhere you said that there needs to be a serious intervention. So when you say serious intervention, does that mean special education?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, special education is a very far removed, it's like an extreme measure that we should even think of taking. Otherwise, we had those explicit, because certain students, especially our at risk group, they may need something different, something more explicit, more, more pronounced, something more that we have to put our heads together to work out on how we can deal with this group of students.
So is that taken care of the special education team, or we teachers do that?
Teachers.
Because I have that child in my mind that I was discussing with you the other day, and the mom is not comfortable with that So I don't know. When you say intervention,
Yeah.
when is the best time we intervene, and does that mean we observe the child, or who does that observation?
So,
Okay.
yeah, Miss Delia, okay.
So basically, yes, it does start with your observation. And then as you see those differences in the range of progress that,
Mm,
of course, you observe with that student and other students of his or her age, then another person can come and observe. And that is why we have Miss Chen. She's our RTI person. So before
oh,
it even gets to special ed, you
oh,
have a response to intervention person who does the tutoring and goes on ahead and say, just to confirm what you noticed. I
okay,
can also come and observe when you let me know. If Jeannie were able to come here, she would have done that too, but then she's not allowed to actually, come to the school at this time. So basically, I can come in and you can refer that child to me as well for observation and really look at what is it that you want to see. Is it reading or is it in math? What actually is it an academic area you're worried about?
it
And
is, yes.
then, okay, so therefore, to confirm all that and see that um, those that you flag as problems or concerns, then we can move to RTI. And usually RTI means that you, me, or Miss Chen will sit together and we'll say, okay, what if we give this type of intervention? And it could be you, but then you'll be giving us a snippet of your time where you're actually focusing that instruction only to that child. It could
Okay.
be 15 minutes at the end of the day and say, for 4 weeks, we're going to intensively get this child to do this. And sometimes it doesn't even need you
Mm-hmm.
or Miss Chen. It could even just be the parents. And we can say to the parents, Mom, Dad, I need you to do this every day for 4 weeks. Intensively work on letter sounds if it was letter sounds, I don't know.
Mm,
Because we are trying to see how far your child can go in terms of this area because it is an area of concern. So we follow through with that. But of course, we don't rely mainly on what the parents do because what if they don't do their part, right? So we always have that plan B that is happening in the school. You set that 15-minute time with that child to say, I'm gonna, it's like a drill kind of way
mm-hmm.
with letter sounds or whatever it is that until we see development. If there's no progress, it could be something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's after 4 to 6 weeks of a child. Four
Mm-hmm.
weeks being the short. Yes, Miss Molina.
So, Miss Delia, I started this intervention that you're talking about 4 weeks ago.
Hmm.
But and I actually have like created a chart so that I can record what letter sounds he got to correct consistently over the weeks and or phonogram or whatever. And out of those 6 students, 5 are actually reading now. Okay,
Great.
as of today.
Mm-hmm.
So they are blending, but it's just blending. They're just reading 3-letter words. Some have started taking a book, and some are just reading 4-letter words. But it is better than
Mm-hmm.
where we were.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm doing that just because these students need it. However, it goes against my grain with Montessori because
Mm-hmm.
I have actually put my AMI hat on the side
Mm-hmm.
and I've just been drilling for
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes or 20
Mm-hmm.
in the third Zoom session. It's effective.
Mm-hmm.
It's an intervention, but if an AMI a consultant walked in, she would be saying, "What are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just need to know you'll get the
Yeah.
results,
I
but you
approve
will
of. Uh-huh.
sacrifice
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Our main approach is Montessori, but when we speak of intervention, it is something that is different from what you normally would do in a class that would accommodate or it's a modification